Hello everyone and welcome back to Cities by Steven. You're talking to Steven. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button and get that bell notification on too so you don't miss out on a video. Welcome back to the channel and the Skyline6 with round 3 of Morato. I am very excited to be back and in the city because holy cow, I'm so impressed with everyone's builds. It's been turning out fantastically and I cannot wait to get going on my build today. So what is in store for my build today? Well, I'm going to be building our first pedestrian zone. Yes, we have not really recorded yet without the Plazas and Promenades DLC. So it's time we caught up with that. So I'm going to place our first pedestrian zone, and I'm going to be adding some height to the downtown core of the city. Well, we don't really have a downtown core yet, but I'm going to be adding some height down in Kevin's Landing, kind of around where I was building last time I was in the city back at the beginning of round 2. I'm also going to be building a hospital. We don't have a hospital yet in our region, so I'm going to be doing that because I think our city could use an improvement on its healthcare for the region as a whole. And then we'll do some detailing around that area as well. So without further ado, let's hop out and check out what CityZilla did as a guest builder in the series. So this is where I'm going to be building today in this kind of blank zone right here. But let's swing out all the way over here and check out this awesome build that CityZilla made. There's this supporting town that leads into this awesome ore industry. I just love how it goes underneath all these bridges here. Very, very cool. Love how all the connections have been made to the main streets. And yeah, I just can't get enough of checking this out. Like, look at this. This is so cool. I particularly like the giant claw thing cutting into the mountainside. I mean, that's really, really impressive. All right, so let us go all the way back to the downtown core of the area. And yeah, so this is where we kind of started out, over in this area. And we have some high density over here with some blank space right here. So I'm thinking this could be a really cool opportunity to get some height in and around here. And by that, I mean, I'm thinking of adding a touch of an IT cluster. Just a few buildings right in here just to add some height around the Friday Nights district. This is a really cool area here. And I think it's just crying to me to be a transit hub. We already have this tram line here. We have the ferries running in. We have 2 metro stops right here and here, which if we check this out, we can see how they kind of split coming out of Cardiff Central. And it goes into 2 different lines here, but what I'm thinking of is combining these 2 into one of the new pedestrian Promenades and Plazas DLC metro stations, this one in particular. And what we'll do is we'll have them run we'll have them split out of here, go into these 2 stations here, and then they'll split into their current lines, just so we have a bit more of a hub for both of these lines coming into one area, where we have a nice transitional zone right here between the trams, the ferries, the buses, and the train. Now, I already actually added in a second train line connection just into this one station here. Now, I do like this station because it has, it's kind of split into two groups, right? And now we're using both of these ones. I don't think we're going to get to use both of these train connections, but maybe we could say it's a bit of like a museum with some old locomotives kind of stationed up in here. And that would be really cool in this marketplace. Yeah, so that is kind of what the plan is, to kind of recreate this area as a bit of a hub for transit, add some height, build a hospital. Can I get this all done in one episode? I sure hope so. Let us start off by zoning a pedestrian area. And I've talked to Joy about this area here, and Joy is okay if we kind of just slightly change things up a little bit. Holy cow, what am I doing? Districts, there we go. And that is to just redo these pathways right in here to kind of connect up this path and this one right in here into our pedestrian kind of area. So we'll see how we approach that in the video. Okay, so actually I'm not done with the district because I'm actually going to include this part right here and then up into here. And we'll talk about that in a second. So we got the Cozy Mall. Well, I think I'm gonna rename this Kevin's Landing Transit Hub, because that's kind of what we're treating it as. Sure, it's a pedestrian area, but it's also a transit hub, and this is the area of Kevin's Landing, the original district in this area. Okay, so when we build a pedestrian area, first thing we need to do is build a service point. That's the term. And we only have one available to us at the moment, and that is the small pedestrian area service point. So yes, this needs to be placed in and around a pedestrian area. However, it doesn't necessarily need to be right in the main zone. So what I'm thinking of is looking at where we kind of have some light industry, kind of that type of building, and that is right in here by our tram. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this slot of land right here, and we're just going to repurpose it. So there we have it. We have our service point right in here. It's in a bit of a repurposed industrial zone. Oh, you know what? I'm pretty sure I would prefer it if this area turned commercial as well. So, yeah, effective. It's pretty close by to what we want to where we want our pedestrian area. So I'm pretty comfortable with having it right over there. Now let's work on some of the pedestrian streets. And one thing that's screaming out at me is this path right here. It is just a pedestrian path, but there is something in particular that I think would do really well here. And that is kind of to look at how our bus network is kind of flowing through here. And right now, the way the buses have to come into this transit hub, you have to make a long go of it. And it just takes a long time to get around this circle here. So why don't we create a bit of a shortcut, but we're going to limit the potential for traffic to come through here. So let's use the sandstone paths, and we're going to upgrade this path to be a bus only path. And by putting this path right in here, what we've actually done is we have opened up this zone here for some zoning. And since we are, working towards the next milestone of Capital City, I definitely can see us getting in a couple residences in here. And then let's talk about how we're going to flow things into here. Well, we have our transit hub here already, the tram loop. And there's a couple things I want to upgrade right away. So we have these dirt paths here. They were supposed to act as, when I placed them originally back in the first round of round two, the first episode of round two, that's the words. And what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this to pedestrian paths. And we're going to use the same type of path right here without any trees because it's a little steep, and we can simply upgrade this. Now, I can't actually upgrade the ones in the middle here, so we're going to leave those as is. They're industrial roads, and they pretty much just act as crosswalks for people. Holy cow, look at the amount of people on this bus. That is fantastic. 150. Well, let's get this going a little bit. Friday nights local. Fantastic. All right, so the trams will rework themselves. That's all good. Now we need to work on how we're going to place the next connection. So I really, really, really want a connection using this path, actually this path, straight out of here. And why this path in particular? Well, if we have this path, and we'll upgrade the trees to be something a bit smaller. Now when you're walking down this path, you can see into the market here, and you're like, I cannot wait to get that hamburger in the market. Cannot wait to try, insert your favorite food right here. from the food truck over there, and you can kind of see yourself walking down there. Like, I'm so excited. So if we had the trees in the middle, it'd be blocking that kind of view right through the market. So in this case, we have that view. Now, what I really want to do now is connect up this to here. This is a bit of a trickier connection because, you know, we are on a bit of a hill here. We need to get a bit of a curve. It's not the most clean of angles here. But what I really also want is to make sure that we have the proper grid system through here. So I actually think I might have jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, very good. Yeah, I like that. Kind of swings and swerves, and I think we get a good angle coming in to the transit hub from here. And that is awesome. All right, so the next key thing I want to do is actually, you know, not necessarily building, it's actually want to get a fence right here. Now, why do I want a fence right here? Well, if we look at the zoning, it's not the cleanest, and I just want to clean up the zoning just ever so slightly, and I might actually even need to redraw this whole road in. And we're just going to get it right there so that we have a bit of a cleaner grid right through here. So now I guess it's time that we actually build our districts inside of this. And then let's actually work on adding in some specific policies. So I want the self-sufficient buildings in both of these districts. And then I want the tourism in this one. And then on this one, I think maybe we'll just add in the wall-to-wall just in case we want to use any commercial. Offices, let's go wall-to-wall in here, but we'll go IT cluster on this one. So, you know, we're mixing and matching some things. This is where I'm going to put the hospital. So I'm just going to name that. All right, fantastic. So now we have this in place, let's get some office buildings going. So I'm basically just going to do this for the office buildings. And this is going to be important because I'm just going to let them all come in and we're just going to watch that happen. And when I get the buildings that I want, we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so we're not getting the buildings as fast as I was expecting we were. Even though we had 0 industrial demand, I was still expecting that they would come in because I play tested it before with 0 industrial demand, and sometimes IT cluster buildings to come in regardless. So let's work on the zoning a bit more, and we'll just wait for the rest of them to come in. So I want tourism in here for a few particular reasons, and that is because of the height of the buildings. Now, I was trying to wait for this because I wanted to make sure that we had all the buildings that I wanted in place for the IT district before we started getting into the metro. But I guess we're going to try to do both at the same time now. So I'm just going to delete this metro stop, and we're also going to do the same thing for this one. All right, so with that in mind now, what I really want is I want these 2 areas cleared out, and I might as well take these 2 out for now as well. So let's now get that tourism right in here. And I'm actually going to break it up slightly. Like that. And I'm going to add in some residential. Now this is not the best of mixes because tourism, lots of noise, residential, lots of noise, but I really like the building combinations that appear with these type of mixing of buildings. So this building in particular is really nice because of the shape of it, pointing towards kind of the corner and everything. So I'm going to keep that one. This one as well, it plays well with the size of the area. So we'll keep that one. This one, oh, cool. Rooftop garden, I like that. Let's keep this one. And we have a couple of these smaller hotels, a couple of these bars. I think this is the kind of thing I was hoping for along this side. So we'll keep that building right there. And we'll let the other 2 kind of regrow. So let's delete those 2. Let's delete those and we'll see what happens when they come back. Okay, so we got another nice building here, but there's parking on this one, so I'm actually just going to delete it. Okay, it looks like that's growing. Okay, so what do we want in here? Well, what I really want is I want that metro stop. So let us just work on this very slightly. Unfortunately, we're going to have some transit issues while I'm waiting for these buildings to kind of pop in again. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of this building, actually. All right, so let's now look at the metro buildings that I'm hoping for, and that is this one right here, the parallel underground metro. So what I really want is I wanted it right up against the building, so that's why I was kind of waiting. And if I'm not mistaken, it's right here. Let's actually do this, and then I think I'll be able to fit the metro in right here. So then it is right up against the next line here. So this will look really nice right up against a building. Oh, looks like we're getting something. Very good. Pleased with that. And if it's the right building, then we'll move on. And you know what? It is. It is the right building. So let's save that one. Let's take a look at what we got going on. So we got 3. Okay, we're good there. And look at this, we got another one coming in. Fantastic. I'm just going to quickly add in some buildings right there with some commercial. And you know what? I think we can get a better building than this, although I think it plays really well with the style. So let's actually keep this one. The parking is on this side. I think we're good. Let's keep that. And hopefully we get one more really tall building right in here. Okay, very good. Yeah, I like the height kind of that this is providing. Okay. So we got the metro in. Let's rework those lines a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this up before I hand it off, but just to get the kind of the gist of what's happening here, it's gonna split from here into 2 separate lines, and then it's going to flow into the rest of the stations here. Now I got the go ahead from Valley, who placed these metros, to move these 2 stops as well. So let us move these 2 stops ever so slightly. So this station right here is in the middle of a little bit of a residential area. What I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to realign it right up into here along this main road, and then we're going to have a nice clean connection between this station here. It's going to curve, connect up into this one, and then connect right up into the green main station. So we're just going to take a quick second to do that. All right, so again, I'm gonna clean these up off camera. I just can't spend more time in the video doing that. Oh, okay, and then the next one, I actually want to take this station and just move it right across the street to this spot right here. So let's just do this, slide it over like that. Mainly because it's going to create the turns a bit nicer as well for the lines. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's clean this one up. Okay, very good. So now we have kind of 2 metro lines running parallel to each other for 2 stations. However, they're both going to completely different directions. So I think this is a totally acceptable situation for 2 stations, particularly because, you know, it gives different transfer options here. So we have our hub right here where there's so many different transfer options. Then we have our hub over here, which has completely different transfer options. So I think that is a-okay. So now let's just move some of these lines around. Okay, well, I can't get them to stay on their sides correctly, so I'll fix that after the episode as well. That's it's a little funny. But there we go. And I suppose we should rename these ones as well. Okay, so we're still waiting on a couple buildings here, and these are unfortunately not the buildings that I was hoping for. So we're just going to remove these two. All right, so now we're going to look at what's going on down in this area. I want to do a couple things, mainly because I want to make sure that these ones stay low so that we have sight lines from these buildings across into the vast beyond. So we're going to stick with the tourism buildings, and we're just going to do something a bit smaller. So we're just going to keep it at this height right along, same thing right through here. And I think this will give some cool opportunities for some buildings. And right in here, I'm not going to do anything at all. I don't particularly think any buildings would go nicely there, but you never know. Maybe we'll come back to that. But I want to get a couple nice big condos right in here. That would be quite the cool view. All right. Yes, so a lot of these buildings. I think I'll come back through here with our detailing. Oh, look at that building. That's perfect. Not too tall either. Same with this one. Not too tall. So we keep our sight lines from these buildings over here. All right. So let's check out this building that we got. It looks like we have the same building on either side. So let's remove that. Let's actually remove those as well. And let's try a different type of commercial building. We'll see what pops up. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we are going to continue kind of the pedestrian zone into this area where we're going to have a hospital. So let's try that out. And one unique facet in particular that I'm going to do is I'm going to bridge from here into Cardiff Office Park. All right, so we have this nice pedestrian bridge over here, which is pretty smooth. So we walk up through here, and this also gives us an opportunity to get boats in here in the future, should we wish. And then it goes all the way over here and then slides right back down into here. Now I think this is actually a bit steep, so let me just change this. Okay, much better. That's a lot smoother. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty important connection in a moment, and we'll get to that because we're going to see why. So right now this has the capability of boats going under it still, in case we do need to get maybe something down here in the future, or yeah, something. I'm thinking about getting a key along here, but I'm not 100% set on it yet. But we have the opportunity to do the same thing over here where we have the height available so people can walk and bike underneath here. And yeah, so I did actually remove just the pedestrian path connection into here, or sorry, the bike path connection into here. But, there's a bike path connection right there and over here. So it's fine. It's all pretty walkable. It's all within one block. All right, so now turning our attention back to this zone right in here, let us now try and get a hospital in here. Now this is going to be a pretty important facet of this build. So let's take a quick peek at the hospital that I'm looking at, and that is the new one, the high capacity hospital. There's a few options of on where I want to place this, and or directionally at least, and I really want to get it right in here because look at kind of the zone right in here. It's all gray. We don't have any really coverage right in here, but on top of that, this is going to be an area that is extremely easy to get to via transit, and that is really important when building a hospital, because not everyone has a car to get to the hospital, and that it's important to make sure that there's transit accessibility. So let's pause the game. Actually, we don't need to pause it. I think we still need to get some IT building in here. All right, so we got this in here. The reason why I placed this right there is because I want to make sure of where I need the pedestrian road, because we're going to get or at least some type of road right along in here. Now, what I actually also need to do is upgrade this road right here into a bus road. Now, that is going to be important because this is going to serve as a couple things. So it's going to be a bus road. We have buses along here, but it's also going to be important for emergency vehicles to use. We're going to use this one because it has dedicated lanes. So let's just upgrade this right through here. So we can't upgrade that one. We can upgrade this. Maybe that's okay if we don't. Maybe I can re-upgrade that one back down to here. Now I think this is just the path that's blocking it, but I wonder if I just redo that part right there. It would make sense because it gives us a crosswalk as well. That is okay. Can we upgrade it to at least a no parking road? Nice. Okay, that's good. No parking allowed right there. Okay, so let's get that pedestrian path road in. We can see the importance of why I wanted to make sure we had this type of road right in here. So this, well, it's an awesome pedestrian path. Look how many people are using it. It's also accessible for emergency vehicles. Is that realistic? I don't know, but it's important for this area as well because there's a lot of noise pollution in this area, and there's lots of people that get sick from the noise pollution. So having that hospital so close, technically, with the pedestrian bridge is going to be useful for game mechanic reasons. Okay, so unfortunately, in order for me to squeeze this in, I had to lose some of these buildings that Joy placed down. So I'm just going to delete them to hurry the process up. But we have so much commercial demand, they should slide back in pretty quickly. And I'll make sure that it is all A-okay before we hand the save file back over. Hopefully that comes in. Okay, so we got this in place mainly because we needed a road in here for a few reasons. Mainly because we need road accessibility into here for the emergency situations that occur with hospitals. So let's reconnect this up now with here, just right to there. I think that'll work. I prefer it if it was a bit straighter. Now we're at the point of the episode where this is where Joy told me that I could redo some of these paths with the new pedestrian promenade zones here, and that is going to be really useful for creating this next connection. So I'm just going to delete this path. Now let's get a connection right up through here. So we have already a point of access right here, and I think it would go well if we were to connect this whole area up. So let's use this one right here because we have a path right here that leads into the rest of Joy's build over here from for the eatery. And I think if we were to get a nice connection like that, we could have better access into here now because we have a crosswalk. Okay, very good. So now we have a bit of a zone over here to build up. However, this is a hospital. We need to make sure that we are kind of playing towards what the building is asking for us. So we have the main building on this side over here. We could flip it, but having the access point on this side is really important for me because the less traffic there is, the easier it is to handle emergency situations, right? So the emergency vehicle would come right up through here, come into here, and then they'll be able to pull right up into here, for example, in theory, pull right up into the front gate with limited interruption if that were to be on this street. So we need to have the building facing this way. It also creates a really cool really interesting kind of viewpoint here with the large building. But we need to make sure that there is spaces available for ambulances to park. And the ambulances would be right out in front of the emergency gate here, right? So let's try and simulate that at least by placing down 2 of these right here. Okay, very cool. So now in theory, ambulances would be parking right in here, ready to go, or other emergency vehicles. That's probably a bit too much just to be ambulances, but I think having that parking available in that area is pretty important. Now I think we put the wall-to-wall in here. No, we didn't. Okay, so wall-to-wall commercial though. Okay, so let's do that then, right in here. High density commercial right through here, and then we'll have a couple of residential buildings on the areas where there's not clean kind of grid marks. I think that could bode really well. Alrighty, so now we're at the kind of the last spot in the build before our little detailing time lapse while I go through and wait for some things. Oh, of course, forgot water. Wouldn't be an episode if I didn't forget water at some point, so I'm glad it happened. And then we get these really cool buildings right in here. I think this would make for a unique zone in this area. Okay, so right in here, I was struggling with trying to figure out how we were going to approach this area, and mainly because, you know, this is a transitional zone. We have a hospital, we have a high density area. It's interesting, right? What can go here? Well, this is also a pretty important spot for our whole city. So what I'm thinking of is why not try and lean into that aspect and get a historical building in place. So with the new content creator packs, we got these seaside resort buildings, and they look so cool that I just felt like I had to include one in here. And I'm sure there's gonna be one that's gonna fit perfectly. And the reason why is because maybe this is one of the older buildings in here. Maybe it's an old hospital even for the area. Oh, I really wanted that one to fit, unfortunately. You know what? I think I'm gonna make this one fit. Let's rework this. Okay, yeah, very cool. So yeah, maybe this is an old hospital, for example. Maybe it's one of the original buildings in this area. I mean, maybe, I think just having this unique older style building in this one area is pretty cool. It's called the Spring House, but we could call it the old hospital. Oh, I had caps lock on. That's funny. Okay, fantastic. And then on top of that, if we're looking at services in this whole region, if we look at these 2 buildings in particular that I'm going to include here, and that is fire. Fire is not the greatest in this whole area. It is pretty good over here, not the best in the downtown hub. So, you know, it doesn't hurt to add in another building, and this building in particular looks so cool. So right in here, looks like an addition of it, but it's going to also increase our services. We can also do the same thing with police and this new awesome this historical police station, but it also doesn't have to be a police station. It can just be a historical building that just happens to have police cars spawn in and out of it. But having this here, I think, would be a unique feature of the city. Kind of the old and the new, you know, in both senses, old buildings, old hospital, new hospital. I think that kind of fits very nicely. So I was thinking, should we get a pedestrian connection into here? Could we connect up like that? But I think in this situation, we can just get a nice, simple path connection into here. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, especially since we have the trees in the middle here. We can run a really nice, simple path into here. We're going to use this path because we're going to continue the theme of paths with the Friday Nights district. Now we have a couple more options available to us. Let's see if there's any other small buildings that fit in here. I don't think so. I keep trying to turn off this view. I don't think this one necessarily works in this area. I also don't want to overdo it, but I think right in here could be a unique building. Yeah, that could be cool. And then why don't we do that kind of old and new kind of idea? Okay, definitely not those buildings. Any other building but those ones would have been fine. All right, so I'm just gonna go into a bit of a detailing time lapse to end the build. We'll detail this whole area up. You know what? I don't particularly love how many of these there are. Don't like a pool in this area. That's not the right location for that. But everything else is good. So let's just go into a bit of a detailing time lapse and I'll talk to you in a moment. Okay, oh wow, right at the end we get the office building I was hoping for. That is fantastic. It's actually not the one I was hoping for because of the parking is on the wrong side. So we're gonna have to delete that, but I think we get the gist of what I was going for. I should have just left it there for the screenshot, but here we go. So here we got everything. We got a little lookout point over here along the back end of these condos. We weren't really getting the right commercial buildings down in here, so I added in some residential buildings. I think it just adds that little bit of height that the area needs. But we can kind of see what I'm talking about. We have these nice facades all the way down here with nice views out over into the port area, looking over the ocean here. Looks like we're going through a bit of a death wave. I'll check that out before I hand off the stage to Joy. And looking at the Ferris wheel over here, it looks pretty darn cool. I detailed up this area here, add some nice transition kind of points through here, kind of blocks things up a little bit, makes it a little bit nicer. We got some commercial through here. I really like how this area turned out. I think it looks pretty neat. I'm not the biggest fan of these buildings, so I might have to switch them out as well. But this area as well has turned out pretty nicely. I'm glad that there's not an excessive height to these buildings in this whole region, really. It looks really nice, kind of as a bit of a medium transitional zone from the height of the downtown core. And if we're looking at it from a distance, I think the transitional nature of it is kind of shown, including across the bridge here, where we have police cars that can use it. We have ambulances, and that's just going to be such a key element to keeping the whole city as a whole healthy, especially with having the hospital right here. So without further ado, folks, I hope you liked today's episode. Lots of cuts and edits, and let me know if that's the kind of thing you like with my videos. And I will talk to you next time in Morato for the start of round 4. So yeah, make sure you watch the next episode. That'll be Joy, Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And have a wonderful day, folks. Talk to you soon. Peace out.